Welcome back to Inside Politics. Our guest today is Mary Mancini. She's the chairman of the State Democratic Party. Mary, it's been quite a session up on the Hill this year. I think it's been dominated as much by scandal as it is by any legislation that's been considered, particularly concerning Jeremy Durham, the state representative from Franklin, who's had sexual harassment allegations put against him. Also, the lieutenant governor has come out with allegations that said that he basically caused one representative, one of his colleagues up there, to resign after they had an affair. So far, there's not much hard evidence about this. There is an investigation going on by the Attorney General and a House committee, but you're critical of that. Why?
Well, because let's look at the facts, right? I mean, the fact is that Leader McCormick in 2015 had two women approach him about inappropriate communications texts that they received from Jeremy Durham. He submitted that. The fact is that Speaker Beth Harwell, back in November of 2015, referred Representative Durham to HR to talk about his inappropriate behavior. The fact is the Tennessean reported that three women, and they've seen the text from two of those women.
But there's no official allegation been lodged against him through the program that the legislature has to deal with that.
Well, it's interesting, right? If you actually read the sexual harassment law as it stands now, if there is a report of this kind of behavior, it is the Speaker's responsibility to launch an investigation. And she has not done that. And, well, let me rephrase that. She didn't do anything until she was absolutely pushed to do so. Everything was swept under the rug. They really tried to hide it until it came out.
Is that a failure of the way the system was put together? Because the system was put together 19 years ago when the Democrats were in charge of the legislature. So is there some responsibility here to fix it on a bipartisan basis?
Well, of course, there's always, you can always make this kind of legislation better as times change. But again, it's very clear in that law, and it says it's the Speaker's responsibility. That Speaker right now just happens to be a Republican, and she did absolutely nothing to make that a safer work environment for the women that work up there.
Sexual harassment charges can be very explosive politically. How do we establish a system that's both fair and protective of victims, and also doing somewhat of the same for the accused, but also have transparency? It seems to me that's going to be a hard balance to get all those things together.
I think that happens every day, right? In the real world,
political environment?
And not in a political environment, right? In the real world. But here's the thing about that, right? They knew, Speaker or Leader McCormick knew of women who said, "This is bothering me. This is unwanted attention from this person." That is enough to trigger an investigation by the Speaker. You don't have to say who the victims are, but referring Jeremy Durham to HR department, that is just not enough of, and that's not going to curtail any kind of behavior, right? What that shows is that the Speaker was protecting the Republican Party brand from scandal. Then she said a little bit later on, I can't be responsible for what anybody does. I can only be responsible for my own behavior. Well, you're Speaker of the House, right? You can be responsible for what your members do. You can actually rein them in when you need to, and she should have.
It's not clear at this point, the investigation's just started, just how long that investigation may take.
Sure.
If it takes longer than 2 months, will the investigation matter very much? Because the goal at this point appears to be, if there's evidence supporting it, that there'll be an ouster motion brought to the floor to remove him from his office. But the legislature leaves probably here in mid-April. So if the investigation's not complete, then what happens? Well,
first of all, I wouldn't be surprised if the Attorney General drags his feet until session is over, right? I mean, that seems to be what's been going on at the state legislature with Republicans in charge, right? They do something, they do just enough to address what comes out publicly, and then they kind of let it linger, right? They don't really take any action. So that wouldn't surprise me. But the second thing that we have to consider with this investigation is, right now it's focused only on Jeremy Durham, and that is a huge mistake. It should be focused on Republican leadership and what did they know and when they knew it. This is not just about Representative Durham's inappropriate behavior. This is about Republican leadership not taking control of the situation. It's about them sweeping these things under the rug.
Let's talk a little bit about the unusual situation that we had this week up on the Hill, where the governor and the two speakers almost got into a public spat, at least through statements about whether or not guns should be allowed either in Legislative Plaza or in the Capitol itself. Right. The two speakers would like to have it in Legislative Plaza if you have a gun permit. The governor's not comfortable with that, especially since the Legislative Plaza connects to the Capitol, where he definitely doesn't want guns.
Right.
Who's right? Either one. I mean, is the policy up there going to be in the legislature eventually just guns everywhere? They may as well just go ahead and pass a bill to allow it any place if you have a permit.
Well, I mean that would be absolutely absurd if that was the case. I mean, there's a real issue with safety at the legislature, and I mean, look, since January there've been 10 accidental gun-related incidences in Tennessee alone. 2 resulted in the death of children, right? And so, I mean, what does that show us? That shows that guns, we're not getting a handle on.
But the lieutenant governor says having guns, allowing people to have guns, they will make the legislature safer.
Yeah, but studies, I mean, that's just not true, right? That's just not a true statement. I mean, look, I have a friend that owns a restaurant, and he believed in bringing guns into his restaurant because he thought, well, the good guys with the guns are going to take care of any bad guy with a gun that comes in. Then he went through a training, and that training was sort of like, how quickly can you take your gun out of the holder and actually hit a target? And after he went through that training, because he's a gun permit holder, after he went through that training, he put up the sign that said no guns in his establishment. And the reason is because even if you are a trained gun permit holder, the chances of you actually hitting the right target are very, very slim. And so we have to look at the reality of the situation, which I don't think that Speaker Harwell and Lieutenant Governor Ramsey are actually doing.
Mary Mancini, thank you for coming on the show. I'm sure we'll have you back
Would love
as we
to
get
come.
towards the November election.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Inside Politics this week. Hope you'll be back here again for a future show. If you can't get up politics in the meantime, go to the News Channel 5 website. You'll find my Capitol View commentary there. There's new commentary posted every Friday afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you back here next time. Goodbye.